mute everybody else. So, Devin, our marketing meetings are start broad. Anybody hearing them? We want to be able to deliver, interesting, useful, actionable information to them. And then we get to the middle of our meeting and we start to get a little more close to the specific kinds of marketing activities that we are having master members and advisor client members execute on in January and February. And then in part three, we get to some member questions. So, Devin, how do we want to start today?
I actually have some slides for our kind of main topic today. So let me pull those up and we can kind of jump into it. And Sean, you and I can kind of discuss as we go through. But our main kind of topic for today is really your 2026 marketing roadmap and how to build one with the idea of being a financial educator and why that can be kind of the goal of your marketing this year. And we'll also talk about obviously how advisor client and master members can, use our materials and our calendar to kind of guide you through the process of becoming a financial educator for 2026. So,
Good, good.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah. Well, anyway, I was going to say, we also want to sort of start integrating some more of, you and I were discussing this the other day. We want to start integrating more AI into our conversations because, frankly, you're a classic example, advisors are a classic example of too many hats, not enough time. And if you're not using AI in your marketing, it's uh, a significant oversight. And so one of the things I want to do with our monthly marketing meeting is, continue to keep AI as part of the conversation and when possible, connect AI to some of the activities that we're thinking about here. So uh, I think that what I would like to do, Devin, would be to, before we dive in,
Hmm.
bring to everybody's attention um, a kind of worthwhile planning uh, prompt that I was just developing yesterday, and um, it's going to appear in Horsesmouth article next week. It's called the annual practice audit, your annual practice audit. And this gives you an opportunity to sit back, and it's not 100% marketing focused. Obviously, marketing has something to do with it. But it is a prompt. Actually, if you give me the screen share here, Doug, I can share. All right, good, thanks. We'll put this in this is coming out next week or the week after. No, it's coming out next week, I believe, maybe even this week. Um, So the prompt, what we're talking about here is your annual practice audit. And this gives you a great opportunity to sit back and engage with AI about what went well last year and what didn't go so well. And then in the second part of the prompt, um, you engage in some goal planning. And I've worked with some advisors who have done this, and I've simulated it a number of times. And I just think everybody can benefit from this kind of prompt. And so let me just explain it a tiny bit. We'll drop it in the chat and you can copy and paste it out and put it into something that you can use. You can put it into any of the AI models, Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever. But the prompt starts by saying, act as my strategic coach and facilitator for a grounded, decisive year-end review of my financial advisory practice 2025 and a goal setting session for 2026. Avoid emotional processing or motivational fluff. Keep it clean and focused on clarity, performance, and alignment. And then the prompt goes on and it has two parts. The first part looks back on the year that has passed, and it's going to ask you a series of questions. The questions will be modified based on your responses from the get-go. But you're going to be answering questions like, well, what worked well in my business? What didn't serve my clients or my goals? pinpoint where you lost time or energy or focus because of any variety of things, right? And then consciously release outdated client types. Basically, or client types, service models, professional roles, anything that really isn't driving you and your business forward and is actually holding you back. And so the first half of this prompt is helping you identify some things that you may actually subtract before you get into planning for the 2026 where you're actually adding things, because the problem is we're always adding, never subtracting. And then everybody gets too busy and you're not focused on your goals, and the year fritters away and your planning is just, reverted to just running your practice like you have always done. The second half of the prompt then is focused on your goal planning for 2026. It says once the review is complete, the 2025 review, lead me through a strategic goal planning process for 2026. Ask one question at a time to help me set goals, prioritize clarity, ensure consistent revenue, and then define 3 to 5 high impact executable goals for the year. So that is it's really good. And I'm going to go ahead and just, for everybody's benefit, I'm going to put the prompt into our chat so people can copy and paste it. Happy to answer any questions that people may have on it. But otherwise, Devin, we'll integrate prompts, marketing prompts more specifically going forward. Whoops, can't do that because it's too long to put into the Zoom.
Really?
So yeah, so let me see if I do it in two parts. Yeah, okay, so part one. Oops. Part one worked. Okay, good. And part two. Okay, so there you go. Let me, like I said, I've simulated this. Would this be used under a new project or part of the marketing project? Oh, good question, Frank. It's kind of up to you. This isn't marketing. This is really more globally planning for your business. And so for some of those who don't know what Frank's question is, he's referring to in our AI training, we direct people to use something that's called projects or project within ChatGPT. It's an amazing folder system, but it's AI powered folder system. And these can be workspaces on any variety of things. And so Mark is saying, should I put that in the marketing project or a new project? I would put it in a new project, Frank, because you're setting goals and discussing things that are, beyond the marketing front. I just thought I really like it so much. I'm trying to get everybody to do it before the year slips away here. And so that's why I decided to run with it today here in the marketing. And those of you who are master members, we're going to be doing this at 4 o'clock more deeply. So, and it'll also be in a Horse's Mouth article coming soon. So that's the story with that. Uh, oh yeah, that's true. Mark Rogers said I could post the ChatGPT link to that prompt as well. Um, yes, I could. I could do that. I'll get to that later. Thanks, Mark. All right, Devin, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great tool for anyone in their kind of planning stage right now, because and it kind of leads into what we're going to talk about in the opening here a little bit, is that the challenge with marketing, and there's a Broadridge study that comes out every year that basically says like only 23% of advisors have a defined marketing plan. We've been following that study for at least 5 years now, and that number has barely changed. It's one of the most constant statistics that we look at here. But a lot of that isn't because, you lack ideas. It's really the ability to execute. As Sean was saying, using AI in this process is one way where you can kind of get over that hump where you don't need to spend all this time doing these little actions. You can use AI to help you in the planning process, but also, getting things out and things like that. Some of the reasons that marketing plans break down is, right, these plans kind of live in documents, or honestly more likely than that in our heads, not in calendars. And so we have these ideas, maybe we write them on a list, maybe they're in our head, but we never kind of put down deadlines on when we're going to do that. We often market reactively. So when we have time or, when we're worried or something in the news cycle happens and we need to get content out there. So it's kind of a reactive instead of a proactive process. And because of that, sometimes we see inconsistent pipelines. There's this like feast or famine cycle where we're getting a ton of new prospects come in because we did some sort of marketing action. And then we don't take any actions for a little bit and then we don't have those prospects coming in. So we want to shift from reactive planning into proactive planning so we can have more predictable growth. We can hit the goals that, you're going to set when you do that prompt that Sean just sent. But we have to, in order to hit those goals, we have to have actions, right? We have to put something out there in order to get prospects coming back in. Why
Yes,
now
definitely.
matters, right? Um, First quarter is already filling up. People who are putting on events already know that if you're, using a venue of any sort, you want to get those dates on the calendar now. Competitors are planning or have been planning, and those who are planning now in the beginning of the year are going to be set up, for the entire year as we go. As Sean was saying earlier, a lot of times we start these plans in the beginning of the year and then they kind of never get completed or they go to the wayside. We want to make sure that we have things written down and ready to go and a real concrete plan that's going to push us along, right? It's one thing to sit down and say, I'm going to take these marketing actions, but we want our marketing to have a purpose. And here you can see good marketing needs to create for your business visibility. We want it to get our name and our brand out there so people see us. Credibility, right? We want our marketing to show our knowledge and that we're credible and that we're a trusted resource in the community. We want it to promote engagement. We want people to come to our events or watch our videos or open our emails and read them. We want that to be happening. And we want there to be a natural kind of sense of conversion or follow up. You could do all the marketing that you want, you can put out all the content that you want, but if you're not getting people to follow up with you or come in for those meetings, that marketing is not working for you. So we want there to be this sort of natural built-in way for people to, want to take the next steps with you in your business. That's what we just kind of talked about here. Um, and most plans struggle because a lot of the marketing actions that we hear about don't do all of these things. They do one or two of them really well, but maybe they don't do everything, right? When you think about advertising, sure, that's helping you become more visible. It's putting your name out there. But a lot of times the credibility isn't there unless you have, an ad that has all the social proof and the psychology of, building credible marketing. Networking, again, you have that engagement, but maybe limited visibility. You're only getting out there in front of the groups or the people that you're networking with. However, there is, one kind of marketing that really does all four of these jobs in a natural way that doesn't seem forced, and that truly is education. And I know you're all our A+ students, you're here, you're part of the advisor client or our master program, and so you believe in the message of education. But when you think about it, education does all of these things, right? It makes you visible. You're doing events or you're putting out educational content on your website, on social media, on YouTube. So you're getting that visibility through these events or that content. Built-in credibility, you're not selling, you're out there teaching and you're talking about these important financial topics that people need more information on. Engagement, people are coming to your events or they're, reading your content, interacting with it in some way because again, it's educational, it's things that they need to know. And there's natural conversion built into education, especially events that you're going to be doing, right? If someone comes to an event on Social Security and you're telling them, hey, everyone's situation is different. In order for you to understand what your situation looks like, you need to come in for a meeting. We need to look at your personal analysis. There's a natural follow-up strategy built into that, where a lot of other marketing activities don't necessarily have that natural bridge. Once you have a cohesive approach like this too, it makes marketing easier, right? Once you know that education is leading your marketing, it helps you make decisions about what marketing makes sense each month, events that you're going to put on, content you're going to put out there, short videos that you might want to do. It makes it much easier to plan because you have this kind of cohesive approach holding everything together. And the best part is you all already have the expertise, right? You know these topics, you work with your clients on it. Now you just need to apply all of that to kind of your marketing perspective as well. So education can really be your marketing cornerstone. Again, we talked about this, how it makes you more visible, it makes you more credible, it has that engagement built in, right? Education starts these real conversations. You have natural touch points throughout the year, and it's really responding to value. So it's a really great way to have engagement in your marketing. And again, natural conversion follow-up. These topics naturally lend themselves to personalized planning, which is the goal of your marketing, right? You want all of your marketing to have a call to action that people want to take you up on. And an educational event with a really personal call to action of, hey, I'm going to solve this problem for you is one of the best kind of conversion methods you can use. And again, this is just powerful because you already have the knowledge. Again, these topics don't go out of style. We'll talk about what you might want to be looking at for 2026 topic wise. If you're using, horse's mouth content, it's often reviewed, it's ready to use for you, so you don't have to worry about that aspect of it. And your presentation can be repurposed in multiple ways, right? If you are doing a webinar, say you can record that, you can, cut it up into smaller clips and share it. Even if you're doing it an in-person event, you can still have, drip marketing come out of that based on the content that you shared. So you can get more kind of leeway out of it, especially with the use of AI, taking that and saying, hey, I did this webinar. Here's the transcript of it. Write me 5 drip emails that I can send to, my list. So there are ways that you can take this content and, get a longer and bigger ROI out of it compared to, one piece that you might just send out once and move on from. And this approach can also make marketing easier because you're not guessing what you need to talk about. You don't have to constantly be creating content, right? Because you have events that you can invite people to. You have themes you're working around if you're educating on certain topics. Again, you can repurpose that stuff using AI. So it helps kind of just keep the marketing wheel turning. So, we also want to talk about kind of 3 educational events for the year that you might want to look at topic wise. But before I jump into that, Sean, anything you want to add on that front?
Yeah, well, just that, I think I'm coming up on my 25th year in this business, and the educational marketing, like you said, to me, it just seems the way to go. I always say if I was going to start in this business right now, that's exactly what I would do. And I'll say, to probably many people's shock, perhaps, I would do dinner events. Just like hands down, the people who learn how to do dinner events, put aside whatever people want to say about why people are coming to that event. The truth is that advisors who get really good at putting on dinner seminars, particularly, I mean, they just crush it. They do 8 or 10 of them a year and they bring in a lot of assets. They really, really work. But educational events in general work. The other approach, swinging all the way to the other end, the least commitment possible, put on webinars on a regular basis. And those also, they operate on a different timeline. But once you start putting on the webinars on a regular basis, you have followers and the people who are ready to act. It takes longer, but that is building up while you're doing it consistently, month in and month out. And then you'll see those people start raising their hand, coming in for meetings and converting as well. So, I love educational marketing. I think it is, the hands down outside of referrals. And of course, really referrals, you build your business. There's all sorts of ways to build your business, and you're bringing in clients through educational events. Then they fall in love with you and your practice, and then they're referring as well. So I mean, the dividends that educational events play are just amazing. Not to mention, of course, as Devin just said, with the AI. You put on a webinar, you pull the transcript, you turn it into a couple of articles, blog posts, social media posts, um, and uh, that is a cluster of marketing assets from one webinar. Uh, that would have taken you hours and hours to do a pre-AI. And with AI, you can process that webinar and turn it into 5, 6, 7 different pieces that will serve you for, the next month or whatever the case may be. So love the educational events. And just, I forget, Devin, if you mentioned it or not, but you are putting on the Financial Educator Marketing Coaching Program. Starts, what is the start date, Devin?
January 29th.
January 29th. Great opportunity. Uh, We're meeting 2 hours a week for 4 weeks, stepping you through a 12 or 13 part program that by the end, you'll have your 2026 financial educator marketing plan completed, ready to execute. And it's a great way to get plugged in, motivated, and get going with being a financial educator. So back to you, Devin.
Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, and I think that's all true, right? We could have a 2 hour meeting here talking about all of this with, the venue and webinar versus in person, which, maybe we'll explore in further meetings too. But today I wanted to focus mostly on education and then thinking about, we're still in January, thinking ahead, what are the events that, make sense for most advisors to do this year topic wise. Of course, you know your market better than we do, but generally for the pre-retiree, retiree market, these are kind of the topics that continue to just perform well. So if you're like, where do I get started? Number one, Social Security still is the topic. It consistently pulls people in. There's a sense of urgency built into that because people are coming up on a claiming age decision and they want to know what to do. The advantage here is like everyone needs a personalized situation, right? You can sit and you can teach the rules and the strategies, but everyone's situation is going to look a little bit different depending on, marriages, where they worked, all of that. So there is this built-in follow-up that I think is really strong here for this topic. And you can also, it naturally pairs well with Medicare or even tax planning if you want to kind of create this series that you're going to invite people to. So you might be thinking like Social Security, does this still work? Everyone's still doing it. Yes, 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 it still works. Consistently, we have advisors consistently pulling in full rooms with Social Security. So that is, I would say, number one topic wise of if you're thinking I'm going to do one event this year, don't know where to start, Social Security is a good place to be thinking. Second, taxes and retirement. Again, probably no surprise to everyone here. We've been kind of talking about these topics for a while, but they still work, especially, taxes. We've had, I don't know, 5 or 6 tax law changes in the last 5 years. And while, our taxes and retirement, our savvy tax planning doesn't necessarily focus on those new legislations. The updates are built into those presentations. And so it helps people understand what their tax situation is going to look like in retirement. And we also do, where applicable, mention those, One Big Beautiful Bill updates or Secure Act updates. That's all built into there. And so people are hearing about this kind of stuff. They're confused about it. And you can be a really good voice of reason here on this topic. So again, that's another great one. The last event I would say for 2026 is kind of this like estate planning, legacy planning, long-term care combo or one of these tight kind of options. This has kind of been like growing in interest, I would say, over the past few years. We just completed, or we're kind of in the process of completing a survey on education events and what advisors are looking to do in 2026. And this was the one of the top options that advisors said they were planning on putting on in 2026. And I think that people are just, kind of in tune to needing an estate plan and what that looks like, what's included in that. And so this is another really great topic. And again, I think it leads to good follow-up, right? You can also partner with other professionals in the community. So it's a good thing to get out there with. People want this information, and it kind of can help you differentiate yourself a little bit too. It's more of a unique topic, I think, when you're thinking about other events that you might see advisors be putting on right now. So this is another great option. And of course, as advisor client or master members, we have presentations on all of these topics for you to go out and do. So, if you're thinking about doing one event a quarter, these could be some options for you moving forward.
Devin, I would say one other thing, totally different
Hmm.
approach. Not do it once a quarter. Package this up as a 3 part webinar
Yeah.
series, maybe over a 6 week period.
Yeah.
Um, put them out there. You've got the recordings, and in 6 weeks, you'll have so much content from doing the webinars that can fuel, again, you spin out all the ancillary marketing pieces that you can pull from the transcript, the articles, the blog posts, social media posts, et cetera. And having a webinar series, again, from all the interviews we've been doing in recent years, when you're doing the series, people are getting to know you. You can do it 3 weeks in a row too, frankly, and probably better to do it 3 weeks in a row. People are getting more and more comfortable with you, and what we see because of live in-person events, people, more than half accept the invitation to come in for a one-on-one a one-on-one meeting, and if you follow up correctly, you'll get them to come in. Um, for those who are doing webinars, what they see again is this buildup. Less takers on the first event, but then in the second event, you're getting more takers, and people are coming to the second event having seen the first event. And then by the third event, they're getting, a really healthy, um, healthy amount of people signing up for the, whatever your decision is. Some people are doing a good fit 20-minute follow-up. Some are doing more in-depth follow-ups. It kind of just, depends on your taste and where you're headed with all this. But I would knit these together into a multi-part webinar series if I was doing it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that idea. Um, okay, so action items, things you can do right now. Whether you're going to do them in person, you're going to do a webinar series, think about that and book the time. We know the best way for advisors to put on an event is to put it on the calendar and just get it done that way. That's what's going to create your momentum. And then, of course, just as Sean mentioned, if you want more info on this, shameless plug for the Liftoff Financial Educator Marketing Program. We start January 29th, and it's going to go through all of this in much more depth. And being advisor client or master members, I think you're in a really good position for this program because you have the material already, right? You have all the presentation, you have the follow-up, you have the marketing. How can you put it all together and really build a comprehensive strategy around this? So I think it's a really natural fit for advisors in those programs. And if you're interested in learning more, you can go to horsesmouth.com /liftoff, and you'll learn more about it there. But it's going to be a great time. So I love to see some of you there.
Yeah, Devin, I think I think on on the marketing page for the financial educator, it has a headline like, if you want to add 10, 15, 20 million in new AUM, and those are highly conservative numbers because I see people do closer to like 15, 20, 25. If you're serious and committed, if you're really in the growth mode and you know that your referrals aren't bringing you as much business as you would like to metabolize in the course of a year, get into being the financial educator, get committed because it's just, we've got the receipts on all this stuff. Um, and it's not really a shameless plug because we're doing this for you guys. We're out
Yeah.
there, we're doing it. It's out there. I don't want to say shame on you if you don't do it, but kind of in a way, if you're looking to grow your business, but you're like, oh no, I don't want to do education, whatever. It's like, okay, but man, it works. It's not hard and it works for you on so many different levels. So um, anyway, back to you, Devin.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move into the second part of our program, which is about the marketing activities you want to be doing in the next 60 days. So I'm going to pull up the marketing calendar here has been updated for 2026. And key financial data is the piece for the month. I know you're all familiar with that. I'll pull it up quickly. Oh, that is going to the wrong link. I'm sorry about that. I will have that fixed afterwards, but our key financial data is ready to go for 2026. It's been finalized. You can access it here. We have the card. We have a client action webinar that goes along with it. We have a toolkit with all the marketing kind of cover letters you might want to use. So if you haven't gotten that out already, certainly want to do that. This is something that you might want to send hard copy and a PDF of, send it to your COIs. The CPAs in particular love this piece. Great piece. We have advisors use it year after year after year. So if you haven't already, certainly you want to get that out. I'm sure most of you have already. We also have our retirement calendar checklist for the year, which is a great piece that has all the kind of key deadlines that anyone who's retiring needs to know for the year. And our year in review is actually live as of today. So this will be updated to momentarily, but that's a great kind of quick webinar presentation you can do for clients that kind of talks about, what happened in the markets last year, what we're looking forward to this year market wise, and what that might look like. So that's another great option for a webinar in the next few weeks. Looking ahead to February, our theme, we build our marketing around a monthly theme. for February is financial fitness. We have our financially organized life reprint, which is a great piece. We recommend sending this out every year just because, people get these documents and it, gets thrown away or they're all digital, and it becomes a mess. And so having some time set aside for people to organize these records and know where to find them, um, is just kind of a basic but great tip that you can help them with as an advisor. It has kind of people can fill out things here too. So it's a great piece to send out. That's why we recommend it for February. And we'll also have the financial fitness checkup ready for you soon as well, which is kind of like, their annual financial physical that, can help identify areas that they need to discuss with you while we're still in the early part of the year. So that is kind of the marketing activities for January and February as we look ahead to that. Um, and that brings us to the third part of our meeting today, which is member questions,
Yeah.
which I know we have somewhere, but I can't find them right now. So, Sean, if you have them handy and want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah. So the first question was, my referrals have slowed down significantly. How do I re-energize my COI relationships without being pushy? So I guess the question was really referrals from COIs. And um, Devin, you want to take a crack at that, or you
Yeah,
want me
yeah,
to,
yeah.
or we
Yeah,
can.
I found my paperwork here. I
Okay.
think this is a great question. And we've been talking about education about to clients and prospects, but the same kind of strategy works for COIs too. In our advisor client program, we have specific presentations that are designed for CPAs or COIs of any sort on these topics where they can actually CPAs can actually get CPE credit for attending, and you're out there and you're differentiating yourself from any other advisor who's just kind of calling them up or saying, "Hey, let's go to lunch, grab a coffee." You're actually giving them this value. You're showing your credibility. They're getting credit for attending. That is a very natural way to kind of build a relationship. And so I think that it can be a really great strategy, especially if you have COIs on your list who you have a relationship with, but maybe those referrals have started to dwindle and you want to kind of re-energize that. I think getting in front of them with an event, whether you're going to a CPA firm and doing it or you're just inviting COIs in your area, can be a great way. Specifically, we have two kind of roundtable presentations that are designed for COIs, and that can be kind of these smaller groups that are getting together and discussing different topics, and it can be more of a collaborative experience than you going out and presenting. So if you want to have kind of that collaborative feel, I think that's a great option as well. But I would lean into the education here, and go with that. We know that CPAs value that. They need these credits. So if you can provide them with it and, build that relationship up again, continue to drip on them with educational content, send the key financial data piece that we were just talking about. These are all ways you can kind of, bring that relationship up and kind of get that back and forth going again.
Yeah, that's always a great approach. The other thing is, I think with COI relationships, they can tend to decay over time because there isn't necessarily always a constant flow. And So re-engaging and re-energizing your connection with your COI is important. And so then the question becomes, how do you renew the relationship again without seeming to be, I mean, when I got into this business 20 years ago, everybody was like inviting CPAs to lunch, and the CPAs were, getting fat and happy going to lunch with all the advisors, but the referrals weren't really flowing because people hadn't really put it together that they needed to have some relevance, and that in order to build a relationship, you want to be useful. So, if you're trying to re-engage somebody, I would think of something like instead of like, calling them up and saying, let's grab coffee or whatever, that you might try and be a little more specific. Like, hey, I'm seeing three kinds of mistakes that pre-retirees are making right now. Um, would you mind if I sent you a one-page summary on it, or we could get together and chat, and then you could mix all that together with, the inviting of them to a educational event. But try and always be useful, and not useful in a generic way, like, hey, I'm here to help you with any issues that some of your clients may run into, but instead, have a knowledgeable and considered opinion about a particular topic that you and that kind of overlaps both you and the COI, and be explicit about what it is and present that in a problem solving kind of framework, and you'll see that some low pressure approach like that will likely reinvigorate the relationship, I think. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's great. Um, okay, our second question. Should I be marketing differently to pre-retirees versus retirees, or is one comprehensive message enough?
So, Devin, I think the answer is no. You should. I mean, yes, you should be marketing to them differently. And you think about a funnel too. You're bringing people in during the pre-retiree period. That's when a lot of advisors hit on new clients as their clients get into their mid 50s. They're finally making some money. The kids are, going off to college. The house is mostly paid for. They're in peak earning years. And that's when they start to realize, hey, the do-it-yourself approach probably isn't going to cut it. They need more professional advice. And so, people come in on the front end around the pre-retiree stuff. But your retirees are very different. They've been with you or they've come to you as retirees, and they're focused on making their nest egg last longer. They're in the, what we say is the deaccumulation, right? The spending phase, right? We got the saving phase, we got the spending phase, and the savings phase and the spending phase. Yeah. And so the retirees are in the spending phase. And that means, they're different. Their mindset is totally different. So they do need to be handled, I think, as as separate kind of niches or targets within your audience. Now, that's not to say, of course, there aren't topics that are of interest to all of them as well. But I do think that they do deserve different framing in your marketing, and one message isn't enough. So make sure you have two messages. And again, just to bring it back to AOI, AOI, that's not bad, AOI, AOL, AI, bring it back to AI. Take that very question. I mean, if you are struggling with it and you're not sure, um, take it to AI, invoke the role, act as a, experienced marketing consultant who's worked with financial advisors for 25 years or more. Um, I'm struggling with my messaging and distinguishing between my messaging for pre-retirees and my existing retirees. Ask me questions so we get the best result. And that will just kick off a conversation that you'll find to be very valuable. And so, just to bring it also back to the prompt from the beginning, um, what we've discovered over the last couple of years is I've developed this concept called the AI usage ladder. And at the bottom rungs are very transactional kinds of things, slightly beyond searching, like doing web search, right? They're the repetitive stuff that you can use AI to help you get things done more quickly. Including, for instance, like we were talking about, it's a little bit higher up on like the second rung, where you're taking a transcript from a webinar you've presented and then you've turned it into three blog posts and five social media posts or whatever the case may be. It's a little higher up this AI usage rung. But the top of the ladder is thinking with AI. And that prompt that I gave you to kind of review last year and set goals for this year is thinking with AI. It's at the top of the AI usage ladder. And that's where this year I'm trying to get more advisors to go up there. Everybody's clustered down low. It makes sense for any variety of reasons, but it's way more powerful than just being able to help us write better emails or more quickly process client meeting notes. It can be way more insightful than you'd ever imagine. And so that's why, again, I'm suggesting here around this particular question, struggling between retirees and pre-retirees in your messaging, bring that to AI for a high-level strategic conversation and see where it goes. I can guarantee you, you'll be surprised at how useful it is. So enough of that for today. Devin, back to you.
I think that's it. That's great. I have nothing else to add. So I think we're
Okay,
we're
we're
set for
good on
January.
questions. Uh, Mark asks, Mark is, and those topics have PDF handouts for each topic. Yeah, yeah, Mark, yeah, everything. Mark, you might want to contact Kathy Ward with our member support team and ask her to give you a more thorough rundown, since you're a master member, thorough rundown of what's available to you. And so, yes, there's a lot, and all those things are available. So if you're doing financial education, you got a lot of material, presentations, handouts, fin review, etc. So, okay, everyone, keep in touch, and well, thanks, Devin. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, we'll be back in February.
Bye.